Good morning. It is Monday. It is June 7th, 2021. And as I told you a few weeks ago, I don't say good morning, Nobles anymore because, Kristen, I know we have a lot of friends from all over the country that tune in. And actually, as we learned last week, all over the world that tune in to Mental Health Monday, which is really exciting. That's what we're aiming to do, is try to spread the conversation around mental health. It's just an honor to have all of you join us here on kind of a drippy Monday morning in the city of Noblesville. But Kristen, we were just talking about how fun it is this morning to see kids mostly out of school from all over the country, and those are a lot of my kids are all in camps this week. I'm sure your girls are doing some similar things and just enjoying a little summer break, a little TLC, and time to unwind, which is a great reason to tune in to Mental Health Monday as we tackle a really exciting topic this morning about love languages. Kristen, I just left a staff meeting and went around the room, and actually about 90% of the people in the room knew what their love language was. So that was actually really good, pretty exciting. So I'm joined once again by my good friend, Kristen Boice, who is the owner of Pathways to Healing Counseling here in Noblesville, and who has generously, for almost a year and a half now, donated her time every other Monday to come on and talk about our feelings, our emotions, and help us process all that's going on in the world. So Kristen, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Jenson, for having me. I'm impressed that 90% of your meeting knew their love language.
Yes. So and I encourage them to tune in, because it's not only important, I think, to know your love language, but how do you interact with your love language? How do you understand other people's love language? So we're going to dive into that topic today, which I'm excited about. As always, if you're listening today and would like to drop us a line, say hi. If you have any questions, let us know throughout this conversation. We're here to get those answered for you. We'll try to answer them live as we talk, but if not, we'll get back to you later. And answer those follow-up questions. But before we get started, as we always do, we're going to start with a little square breathing exercise, and I'll turn it over to Kristen to lead us through that.
Thank you, Mayor Jenson. The first thing I teach clients every single session when they come in, they're like, I've been breathing in the waiting room, or now I've been breathing while I've been waiting for you to get online. So the number one thing is square breathing. You're going to start with your feet on the floor. That's a centering practice. So you can feel your feet any place, anytime, anywhere. You're going to press into your feet. You're going to inhale through your nose for 4, hold for 4, and slow exhale out your mouth for 8, like you're blowing through a straw. And with kiddos, you can do smell the cookie, cool the cookie, blow up the balloons. You can actually get bubbles out. I'm a big fan of bubbles. Those are great in order to start teaching children how to do the deep breathing. So let's practice it together. We're going to do 2 breaths. So let's start pressing your feet into the floor. Inhale through your nose. Hold and exhale slowly out your mouth. You're going to go all the way until you don't have any more breath. And I recommend people do this 5 to 6 times. We're going to do one more together, pressing into your feet. Inhale. Exhale. Just noticing your felt sense, checking into your body, seeing if there's any more tension or tightness that does need to be released. I invite you to continue to breathe throughout our whole time together, and make it a practice every hour. Set an intention this week to practice square breathing. It's the number one thing to deal with anxiety and depression, and we want to do it proactively so your brain goes, oh, breathe, as opposed to reactively when we're so activated, and it makes it a little harder for the brain to remember to breathe.
It's awesome. Well, thank you. And our new friend, Kent Taylor, don't worry, Kent, mental health needs to be focused on every day. That's just the catchy name that we're doing here on Monday. So we know that this breathing exercise shouldn't happen every 2 weeks when you're tuning into Mental Health Monday. These are supposed to equip you with tools to take out and use every single day, because we do have challenges every single day. So Kristen, let's talk a little bit about love languages. First of all, I hope that maybe you'll spend a few minutes talking about the different love languages, because again, I'm sure not everyone is as in tune with themselves as my staff here at City Hall is. And then we can kind of dive into differences of each one and how we integrate those into our daily lives.
So we have what we call the 5 love languages, and they originated from Dr. Gary Chapman. There's a book called The 5 Love Languages. It's a bestseller. It's been out for decades now. You can actually go to the 5, like the number 5, lovelanguages.com and take their free assessment. I recommend anybody who is in a relationship to take the assessment. Also, they have one for kids and teens, and my whole family's done it, so we all know our love languages, and these can change over time. As we meet love languages developmentally, they may shift, they may change. I recommend doing this quarterly as a family unit, as a practice, and for yourself. So 5lovelanguages.com if you do want to learn more. So I'm going to outline the 5, and typically what someone will hear is they'll think, oh, I'm that one or I'm that one, and then they take the assessment, and sometimes it's different. So just so you know, write these down and start kind of identifying which one you think you might be, then take the assessment, and then have the person you're in the relationship with take the assessment. And don't compare notes, do it on your own and see what the results are. Print them out, exchange them, and talk about them. Okay, so these are in no particular order. It doesn't matter which one you have. This is to help you kind of understand, how do you feel loved? Because typically what happens in a couple, the way you feel loved is the way you're showing love to your partner. And guess what? A lot of times they're different. So, and I think I'm doing, being acts of service. I think I'm giving to my partner, and it's not landing how I thought it would land. Like, don't I get brownie points for doing all these things? And that's not their love language. So let's deconstruct what these are. So there's 5. I'm going to name them first, and then we'll go back and kind of identify what those are. 1 is acts of service. 2 is words of affirmation. 3 is physical touch. 4 is quality time. And 5 is gifts. Again, in no particular order. So let's go and deconstruct these. What's words of affirmation? That is acknowledging and building someone up for who they are and how you feel grateful for them and what you appreciate. So thank you so much for getting the kids ready this morning. I so appreciate. I noticed, did I say specific? Be specific. I noticed you had made their lunches. You put on their, you got their backpacks ready for camp. You got everything loaded up in the car. I'm just going to take that as so helpful. Thank you so much. A lot of times it's kind of team building. So another example of this is like someone that vacuums the carpet. When my husband vacuums the carpet, I'm like, thank you so much. It makes me feel loved because it's an act of service. It's one of those that says, oh, I care about you. You're important to me, and we're in this together. So acts of service can be many different things, emptying the dishwasher to cleaning the house to running errands, going to the grocery. Those are just a few examples. So let's move on to number 2, and that is physical touch. Physical touch can look different for different people. Sometimes it's initiating intimacy. Sometimes it's rubbing your back, holding a hand, really just kind of acknowledging physically with a hug, somebody snuggling. So there's many different ways to show physical touch. And let me make a point here that we all need all 5. Not just one of these, especially if you're giving to children. These are important for human development. These are important for emotional and psychological development. So you're not just going to pick and choose. You're going to offer all these to our children. Now, in a relationship, we're going to probably prioritize the first 2 love languages of the person that we're in the relationship with. Physical touch is typically at the top, not always for men, but doesn't mean it's gender specific. But I find words of affirmation are also typically at the top, and it really depends on the couplehood. What are the love languages? So let's move on to number 3, and that's quality time. That's spending time together in conversation without any distractions. So no phones. We're not distracted with anything else. We might be doing a shared activity together. You like to grow and evolve. These are people that like deep conversations. They want to be together with that felt sense of connection without anything else going on. And quality time is essential for children too, that you are attuned and present to their emotions, to their facial expressions, to their body language. That tells us a lot about what's going on the inside. And all couples need quality time. So this is an important one to put at the top of the list. So we have the next one is gifts. And gifts are saying, I care about you. I'm thinking about you. You're important to me. It's not about buying someone something. It could be a note. It could be a card. It could be something that just saying, you know what, you matter to me. I'm thinking about you. And so we don't want people think, well, I'm not about buying things. It doesn't have to mean you buy something. It's surprises. It's saying that you're top of mind for me, that I really am at a high priority for you. And then the last one that we didn't cover is, quality time? We got that. Physical touch, gifts. We did words of affirmation and acts of service. So I think we hit them all.
That's great. So that's awesome, and it's nice to hear. Thank you for decoding each one of them a little bit to talk more specifically. So let's talk about, first of all, if we're not in a relationship, for example, but I'm aware of my love language, how does that matter to me? How does my knowledge of my love language and the knowledge of others, maybe just in my everyday workplace or in organizations I'm involved in, how do I implore my love language knowledge if I'm not in a relationship?
So first of all, it's important to know yourself. Self-awareness is empowerment. You can understand your own triggers, your own reactivity, your own shadow sides. And what I mean by shadow sides is those sides that you really want to hide from everybody else. So it's information that can help you know yourself better is empowerment. And the love languages is just one of those pieces to help you understand yourself, because what we do is we often put that on someone else. I call that projection, that unconsciousness on someone else. And we want them just to know that that's my love language, that that's how I feel seen, heard, and understood. And the other person has no idea because they might have a different love language, or they might not even know about the love languages. So first of all, self-knowledge is empowerment. We can then offer and communicate that to somebody else and say, hey, my love language is words of affirmation. Oh, didn't know that. What's your love language? We can start having just a conversation, and all my friends will know. This is part of our daily talk because I love to know people at a deeper level. Like the surface talk can go so far. I want to know who is in front of me. Why is that their love language? And this is what's not talked about in the Gary Chapman book is when we deconstruct the love languages, sometimes it's based on unmet needs. So maybe you didn't get a lot of hugs growing up. Maybe you didn't get a lot of acknowledgement or words of affirmation. Maybe you didn't have somebody that you were kind of the parentified child that had to do everything yourself and didn't have that acts of service. So someone, pitching in and emptying the dishwasher or helping around the house to take on those responsibilities helps you feel seen and heard. Maybe you didn't get a lot of gifts growing up. Maybe you didn't get a lot of time with your parent where they talked to you, they acknowledged you. Those are the birthplace of how the love languages evolve. Maybe you got something in your childhood and you really loved that and want more of that. So it doesn't always have to come in unmet needs. It could be maybe you got a need met and you just like how that feels and you want more of that. It's important to understand yourself and deconstruct how you got there. Now, why is it important we know other people's love languages? Because it helps them feel seen, heard, understood, connected to, cared for, and loved. And I can start acknowledging that we may be different, even if we have the same love languages. Let's say it's acts of service, but what I like as acts of service may be different than my partner's. What my partner likes is acts of service. So maybe washing the car might be my partner's acts of service, but it doesn't do a whole lot for me. So it even can go into the finite minutia detail of what are the acts of service. So what I like couples to do and families to do and teams to do is I like it when you blank 10 items. Everybody fills it out. So if you're in a couplehood, if you're in a relationship, you have the person you're in a relationship with, make your own list. So I like it when you rub my back. I like it when you text me, I love you, and you're thinking of me. I like it when you vacuum the carpet. I like it when you pitch in and make the kids lunches and take them to activities. I'm making this up. You get the idea. I like it when we just go out to dinner and have deep conversation. And that gives you a cheat sheet to exchange with your partner and start doing things from your list. If you're in a work organization, I like it when you recognize me when I go above and beyond and take on a project that I didn't originally sign up for. I'm making this up, but you get the idea. You want to be specific in your lists, because if you like it, I like it when you don't yell at me. No, that is not an actionable item. It's not, I like it when you don't. It's like, I like it when we do X, Y, Z, very specific. And that helps us build connection. It helps us build understanding of one another. And guess what? Now we can start doing things from our lists, and the person feels so seen and important and understood. And there's no greater gift that we can offer another human being than to really care about them, empathize with them, and acknowledge who they are. It is one of the greatest things that I teach people how to do, is understanding themselves, and then how to understand your partner or somebody you're in a relationship with, whether it's a friendship, a romantic relationship, a work relationship. This is critical work to human development.
Yeah. So let's go back to the couple thing. Cause like what if you're in a relationship, maybe it's a new relationship, and all of a sudden we go on and we take a little love languages and red flags raised because, my love language is different than my partner's, my spouse, my girlfriend, my whatever it may look like. Walk me through how to reconcile that. Cause I'll use a personal example, but Julie Jenson and I have different love languages. I am a words of affirmation love language person. She is an acts of service love language person. So I will like praise her and, oh, thank you so much, and yada yada yada. That doesn't do it for her though. I mean, that does not register. She is an acts. She just wants you to do something for her. Vacuum the carpet, do the dishes, pack lunch, whatever it may be. And we butted heads at times over that, because I feel like I am, doing a pretty good job. I'm doing my love language though on her, and it's not meshing. So how do we work through that in a couple situation?
Yeah, first of all, awesome that you guys know your love languages. This is step one. Step two is typically, I have worked with lots of couples that do have the same, and even if they have the same, there's nuances to it. So it still can be different. You're not going to have the same love languages typically, and that's okay. That makes you grow. The whole definition of being in a relationship is growth. If you're not growing, the relationship will die off. You have to be growing, and different love languages offer us different opportunities for growth and expansion of our own selves. So it's an intention. So a lot of the love languages becomes about intention. It's like, okay, my love language is words of affirmation. Their love language is acts of service. Okay, so it's going to take more intention for me to do the acts of service, because maybe the words of affirmation flows from you a lot easier because that's your love language. So it's going to be intention, and then acknowledgement when the person says, hey, I'm not feeling loved right now. And you're like, oh my gosh, I've been praising you up and down. I've been acknowledging all the work you're doing. They're like, yeah, but I feel alone in this, or I feel whatever they feel. And you can go, oh, help me understand that. Tell me more about it. Because we want to get defensive a lot of times when there is that friction, because we're like, look, I'm trying to do these things, and it's not landing because it's the different love language. And when you go, okay, it's not personal, the person is feeling lonely or overwhelmed or stressed or whatever that person feels, and you can acknowledge that, process through it, and empathize. Now we're going to get back on track to repair. And so that's a really important point that we put out a lot. We think we're doing a pretty darn good job of putting out the love language we think that the person might like. And then we're like sorely disappointed when we're like, well, oh, so that doesn't even count. And the other thing I want to emphasize here is people tend to get ledgers out. And they're like, I did one thing from your list, and you've done 0 for mine, and it becomes a scorecard. Yep. And that's dangerous. We want to give out it just from our spirit self, because it's flowing out of meeting your partner's love language because you want to, not because you want credit back. Like it's like a bank. And I see this, there's a term for it. It's called the ledger. When you're like, okay, I've done 5 this week and you've done nothing. Or I'm making deposits into yours, so I'll get physical touch back. And it's like, I'll deposit in your account as long as you're going to deposit in my account. And that becomes very dangerous. We want to be able to meet our own love language by acknowledging what we need, giving ourselves what we need, and then it's icing on the cake if our partner meets those needs. And so it takes the ledger off the table, because the more I see couples doing that, the more detrimental it is to even do the love languages, because it becomes about, if I do this, then I'll get this back. Then I'll get intimacy. I've given you all, I've done all these things, and now I'm going to get intimacy back. And that really creates a toxic kind of parent-child dynamic, where if we're just giving because it feels good to give, because I'm filling my own tank up, it's icing on the cake when you fill mine up. Now we're in a different mindset, and we're no longer doing the ledger of keeping track.
Keeping score. It's you hear so many couples that go through that right now about keeping score, and especially during the pandemic when everyone's inside and locked up and emotions are high. So be aware of that. So I want to talk a little bit in our remaining time here, a little bit about how this translates with parenting as well, and understanding, our kids' love language, and maybe you can talk us through, obviously some of those love languages don't transpire into the next generation, but what do those look like? And then as a parent, how do we, work with our kids to understand what motivates them, and then how to coach them and what motivates us as an adult? Can you touch on parenting and how it relates with love languages?
Yeah. And the first thing is attunement with your kid. Like, I kind of knew what my kids' love languages were before they took the test. I didn't have to be right. That wasn't it. It's attunement. So does your kid just like melt when you give them a hug? Does your kid light up when you acknowledge who they are specifically? When you do something for them, like pack their lunch, take them someplace, are they really grateful? Do they like little surprises? Do they like notes on their pillow? Do they like little cards? Do they like spending time with you and having that one-on-one time with you? Do they like date nights with mom or dad? That helps give you some clues into their response. When do they light up? And I had my kids take the love language assessment pretty early in elementary school. You can get online, they can do it on the computer, they can fill it out. And boy, we had such good conversation, and still do, about what their love languages are. Both of them had quality time listed at the top, and one had physical touch over the top, and one had words of affirmation. And then we all knew as a family, so siblings can participate. Now, it's not their responsibility to meet their siblings' love language. That's not their job. It just creates more understanding and feeling seen and heard and belonging in a family system. We want belonging. Otherwise, we're searching for it externally. And sometimes it's like that old song, looking for love in all the wrong places. Yeah. We want to find belonging in our family system. And one thing I love about the 5 love languages is if it's done safely and effectively, it creates connection and feeling seen, heard, and understood. So I like to have parents go on. There's a teen one and there's a kids one. I like to have them go on, if they're old enough to get on the computer, take the assessment, print out the results, and then we all talk about it in a safe way. We don't shame. So we don't go, oh, why is that your love language? No, that's shaming. That's shaming. We don't want to shame anybody for their love language. And sometimes that can be that it creates discomfort, and it's not safe anymore to do things like this as a family or a team. We don't want to shame another person for their love language. We want to go, oh, tell me more about that. Let's look at how your scores came out, and not comparison. Oh, mine wasn't that. We want to be careful in how we're talking about it. We want it to be a safe, exciting process for the family system. And then what we start doing is we start practicing from their love language. We make it a priority to know, oh, my kid needs snuggles. I've got one, she loves snuggles. She needs snuggles. She needs hugs. She needs quality time. Both of them need quality time. And then one needs more words of affirmation. She needs acknowledgement for who she is. Here's the other flip side of 5 love languages is if you are, let's say you're brutal with your words, a words of affirmation person, that is going to take them down. So let's say you are, you neglect the relationship and you don't send a note or you don't say any, you don't show them in a way through acts of service. There's neglect there. There's maybe a person that doesn't want to take responsibility. That could be detrimental to the relationship and to the children. Again, children need all 5 love languages. It's not pick and choose. It's being more intentional around the ones that you absolutely know speaks their language.
Well, I think a lot of what you're saying too affects the family dynamic, but I think in an appropriate sense, knowing whether you're in an organization or in an office, if you are aware of others' people and love language, it helps you then as a leader. For example, if I know somebody likes gifts or quality time, I can spend more one-on-one time with those people. It just helps you be a better leader, a better, like I said, a better spouse, a better parent. There's so many dynamics to it of just understanding people. I just had breakfast this morning at Rosie's, one of my favorite spots, with an old friend of mine, and we were just kind of dissecting just the lost art of understanding people and taking time to understand people, which is a huge part of what we're trying to do here on Mental Health Monday and what we're trying to do in the community is just spend time, understand your needs, know that our needs are different. Community-wide, you have 65,000 people in the city of Noblesville, for example, a whole bunch of love languages out there, and how do we at least understand, meet you where you're at and help learn about one another, which I think is so key. Jessica Johnson mentioned also being unable to let things go. That's another important part of as we work through our mental health and our Mental Health Monday is, kind of helping folks process that and whatnot. So anyways, Kristen, Boice, great conversation around love languages, a little bit different than we've had the last couple of weeks here, but it's been exciting. It's been fun to kind of explore those with you, and I appreciate you taking time. Before we go, if somebody's in crisis right now and struggling with their mental health, or they're kind of peaking out in a mental health crisis, where can they turn?
You could text 741-741. You can put connect, help in the text. Please don't try to do this on your own. You can also call the suicide prevention hotline at 1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-TALK. This is great for somebody that may know of someone that's suicidal and you don't know how to help, or you need words to help you connect with that person. Call the suicide hotline. That is what they're there for. We have Community North. We also have St. Vincent Stress Center. We have Prevail here in the Noblesville area if you're in domestic violence situation or emotional abuse, and their hotline is 317-776-3472. You matter, you're important, you are loved, even though shame will want to tell you a different story. Shame likes to tell us how worthless we are, and I'm here to tell you truths. You matter. You're here for a reason. So please don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes, and a shameless plug here at the very end. May was Mental Health Awareness Month, but obviously we're talking about it all the time in the city of Noblesville. Every month of the year is Mental Health Awareness Month, but we also launched a new webpage at cityofnoblesville.org. You can go on there and learn some more about mental health resources in our community. Chime in, raise your hand if you want to get involved with us and help us continue to be ambassadors out into the community about mental health and the importance of it. So in the meantime, join us back here in 2 weeks for another conversation. Kristen, as always, you're the best. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Everyone have a wonderful week.
Take care.